In today's gaming landscape, it's become obvious that LiveOps is a critical part of success. This became really evident when we saw the success of games like Brawl Stars drive dramatic improvement in performance last year. Remember, the three pillars of success for games, it's back to the old days: game quality, LiveOps, and user acquisition. Now, with respect to LiveOps, I wanted to find out what are the most critical capabilities required to drive LiveOps success. So I thought, well, if I could ask anyone in the world for advice on this topic, who would I ask? Well, maybe I'd ask one of the Franks from Brawl Stars. So I asked Frank Yon, who was until recently leading design on that game. Maybe I'd also ask whoever was driving LiveOps and monetization for the number one social casino game in the US from last year, which is SciPlay's Jackpot Party Casino Slots. So I asked Dafna Ben Onn, who is SciPlay's director of monetization for that game. And maybe if I could pick anyone in the world to ask about LiveOps capabilities, I would also ask someone who's been at the tip of the spear in innovation and sophisticated LiveOps analysis, working with many game studios, now on his 10th year at Superscale, the company CEO, Ivan Trancik. Folks, do not miss this episode. You want to listen to literally some of the world's greatest experts on LiveOps, design, and monetization, brought to you by your dude. So you're welcome. So we'll kick it off starting with Frank Yon, the dude who led design on Brawl Stars and was part of arguably the greatest LiveOps revival in the history of mobile games. What are the most important LiveOps capabilities? Coming at you right now.
All right, the first thing is that to be able to react really quickly. This means being able to push content, whether that's an event or a game mode, out in like a matter of seconds, or a shop offer, and be able to do it very, very quickly. I would say the second thing is being able to update that aforementioned content without needing any type of client update or server maintenance. And the third is to be able to segment players such that we can give specific players certain types of content or a certain offer, because not everybody is the same. Everybody is at different lives in their player journey. So you have to kind of celebrate different players in different ways, depending on how well they've achieved kind of the goals that are set out in the game. So I think regarding segmentation, one great example is if someone hasn't spent in a while and you know they're enjoy buying the battle passes because of their prior history, that you would offer them a discount on a battle pass to say, hey, we noticed you hadn't played in a while or hadn't bought a battle pass in a while. Here's like a great deal off of it. And you'd be able to kind of set what percentage discount to give them. I think another good example there is be able to celebrate a player based on what milestone you felt was really hard for them to achieve. You know, the best offers are some of the ones where you are able to celebrate achievement in a game, because those are kind of the most meaningful moments where where players have emotional highs, right? And you want to, not only give them free things, but also, give them a great deal on something, because you're saying, hey, congratulations on achieving that milestone.
There are two things that when we are thinking of what LiveOps event we want to run, we're asking ourselves first, what KPI we're trying to drive. Obviously, at the end of the day, it's a business, and so it's always revenue. But a lot of the times, the answer would actually not be a spike in revenue. It would actually be something else. And for example, it could be retention. And so when we ask ourselves, what is the KPI that we're trying to drive? When it's retention, the tool or the test that we're using is basically optimizing towards what is the right reward, because we have found that higher rewards drive in our game drive higher retention, stickiness. Basically, the players come back day after day more often when the rewards are higher. Having this be a business, we can't always allow for an inflow of the currency to be in the game for sustained long periods of time. So we use optimization of the rewards that we give our players in order to allow for higher retention, and there could be a trade-off there of revenue either not increasing as much or stagnation. On the other side of the coin, basically, if the KPI that we're trying to push right now is a spike in revenue, then we have found that in our game, umping up the difficulty levels of what we are asking the players to do through LiveOps has really showed itself as a good driver for revenue. The issue is that over time we cannot run these events because the downside of it is when the game becomes a little bit too difficult for players, they may choose to not come back. So optimization between what is the coin amount, basically the rewards that we give in our game, and the difficulty of the LiveOps events is the work that we do in order to balance between all the needs of the game.
Got it. And so Daphne, it kind of sounds like what you're saying is that you have a set of tools that helps you optimize, for example, rewards that are given to the players, and that often has a big impact on retention. And then game difficulty, depending on how you tune the difficulty of the various levels in the game, will then also impact revenue. And just a question in terms of how that's done, is it through some kind of multivariate testing tool, or is it something that's like that automatically tries out different kinds of difficulty and kind of tells you the answer? Or is it more directed like a multivariate test, or is it something that's a little bit more automatic?
It's the first one. It's the multivariate tests. So we definitely have very segmented events, and this all goes through a lot of scrutinizing and testing and understanding what is the best ratio between the two elements that I just talked about for each player, to try and understand really what is the tailored experience that would drive you to, as a player, to exactly what we are trying to get out of you, whether it's retention or revenue.
So it sounds like you're pushing either on revenue or retention. There's a balance, as you're saying. And then how do you determine what that balance is?
Yeah, and I do realize why while saying it that it sounds like it's either or. I don't want that to be the conclusion of this. We do find a really good balance to run it all, and continue having players that are very, very loyal players and monetize extremely well, because we believe that a positive experience, an experience that is tailored to what you need right now and what you can afford to put in the game in perspective of time, is actually going to keep you for long in the game and keep you a happy customer. So it's not either or, but it's definitely an artwork in trying to find that balance. And so because we're such a data-driven company, we do test all of this and try to understand what is the right balance between them all. And to your question, there isn't just one formula. It's just understanding what you need as a player.
Right, but also sounds like the other, maybe a third capability that you're talking about is when you are driving towards a single metric, that there's going to be a potential impact on other metrics. So understanding the impact to all the metrics may be kind of the third capability.
Oh, definitely. We always try to look at the whole story and what all the KPIs that we are measuring are telling us about the players, because yes, a lot of the time we see that there's a trade-off between one to the other, and then there needs to be a balancing act and also a prioritization act of understanding what is the need right now for the game.
First and foremost, it's important to segment the stadiums and life cycles of their journey that we're discussing, because it's a different if you're starting and you're soft launching your first game, and it's different if you already have games with audience, and you try to incrementally optimize what's there. So I would definitely start, let's say, the first like an earlier stage. If you're a gaming startup, which is maybe receive some form of investment or I don't know, bootstrapping, but generally it's approaching soft launch. This is, I think, what I would say the most important capability is you have, because you have limited budget, you have limited resources, you want to get as much learning per per spent dollar as possible, so you can basically find out if the game has likes. If it has likes, you get enough information so you can raise more money. So absolutely 100% before you would spend a single dollar on the UA, or do you start some form of optimization of product itself, you should have your analytics and business analytics set up ready. So this ensures that once you open your game in the first market, get some first players in, you immediately start getting the most out of your traffic, out of your players, out of dollars spent in the UA. So without it, I wouldn't advise to do much before. Um, so absolutely analytics and get what's more important. Um, I would definitely advise to have even simple some form of data lake, so you do not rely just on a dashboards in an MMP or just what you see in stores, but actually already start pulling the data in your own database, in your system, so that you can do some analysis around it, and more importantly, you can ensure the consistency of the data. So before this is done, you shouldn't, in my opinion, you shouldn't rush spending any money or opening the market. So when this kind of a base is set up, this is the part that you already have some data set up coming in. You can trust the data because you cross-checked whatever you're sending to UA to MMP is right. This is where you need to first and foremost figure out your CPI versus LTV gap. So this is where start on one side start spending some money on the UA to get a feel from the CPI. At the same time, start evaluating retention, monetization numbers, and give stuff. So for that, you should start identifying the bottlenecks, and I think this is the most important part. Focusing on the most important bottlenecks early on. So is it a store conversion? So you need to spend a bit more ASO. Is it the AdOps side of things? So you're way below the benchmarks on how much impressions you're getting and how CPM is getting, or is it that your in-app purchase economy is really somehow broken and nobody's incentivized to spending anything, or it's too hard, so there's no fun in the game. So this is the second capability after you get your kind of analytics infrastructure in, to just start making sure that you're focusing in your limited time and budget on the most impactful bottlenecks first, before you start tackling something which may bring you just incremental change. So this is early stage alpha and omega. If you go to the second segment, which I would consider, hey, you already have one or a couple titles live and kicking, making some money. I don't know, let's say, a couple hundred thousands a year. You already basically somehow stable, hopefully, and you already have some players. You have some existing players. You're acquiring new players at some level. This is the moment that you should start thinking more in terms of capabilities of A/B testing. So any kind of change you would make, especially on the product side, monetization and so on, making sure do you have some way how to roll it out for certain percentage of players and compare them to the control group, and the ability to evaluate these changes against the current state of the game in a robust manner. I think this is what can get you to the next level at this phase. And again, you can start as simply as some form of a stage rollout, or some very simplified A/B testing config to go for. But again, you already have traffic, so not testing enough can get you behind. And then And then basically you are, if you're already in more, let's say enterprise or mid-market or enterprise segment, so you have a game which start making 7 figures, 7, 8 figures, and more. Obviously, right now at scale, it's not just about the kind of A/B testing or comparing one experiment at a time with a control group. Now it's about what I would describe as the experimentation machine. So you're maximizing the opportunity to test every step of the funnel, and you're not basically leaving some profits on the table just because you are not testing enough, right? So again, making sure that your machine is working up to its potential. I think this is the kind of almost meta challenge for bigger games, where you make sure you're maximizing the amount of tests you do on the ASL side, maximum amount of additional creative tests on the US side, maximizing amount of A/B tests you're running, whether it's for the pricing, or special offers, or waterfall, or bidding or meta bidding setup on the ad side. So I think transition from this basics to simple variant control to multivariate testing, but focusing on every segment. I think this is what I view is the key process and infrastructure you should have in place, and which ultimately determines the level of growth and progress you can make in any of these stages.